Kat, thanks for coming on. How are you today?
I am fantastic, and I'm also super excited because I get to geek out with you guys on about a topic near and dear to me, which is courses.
Well,
Nerd alert.
I want to, spoiler alert, I want to start with one that's not real traditional. There's maybe a little bit of curveball for you.
Okay.
But here's what I found real interesting as I kind of studied up on you before we jumped into this. Would you do it differently? Maybe talk
Chris,
about that a little bit.
Like, you almost made me curse, but I'm not going to curse live on radio. But to answer your question, absolutely yes. Yes and yes.
Okay, yeah. Tell us more.
So if you want to learn how to build courses, it depends on who you want to build courses for. So I wanted to be able to build courses for corporate entities, the federal government, colleges.
Welcome to ClickFunnels Radio, the podcast that brings you the latest strategies, insights, and success stories from online marketers just like you who utilize funnels to grow their business. Our mission is simple: to help you unleash the true potential of your online business by harnessing the power of funnels. Join us every week as we bring you exclusive interviews and thought-provoking discussions that will revolutionize the way you approach online marketing. Here are your hosts, Chris Cameron and Ben Harris.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of ClickFunnels Radio. We have a guest here who is probably more knowledgeable in their topic than anyone I personally in my career have ever met. And I'm going to get to that in a second because I want to hear from the co-host, Chris Cameron. Chris, are you also a little jazzed up for this guest?
I'm really jazzed up. You know, it's funny. Sometimes, in these before we hit record, you kind of say, what are a couple topics? And she starts rattling off. We're like, oh, we'll go 30, 40 minutes, something like that. She starts rattling off what we could seriously talk about for 90 minutes. So let's see how this goes. But I'm super excited for our guest today.
Yeah, and it's our pleasure to welcome Kat Dunn, a.k.a. Kat the Course Builder. Kat, thanks for coming on. How are you today?
I am fantastic, and I'm also super excited because I get to geek out with you guys on about a topic that's near and dear to me, which is courses.
Well,
Nerd alert.
I want to, spoiler alert, I want to start with one that's not real traditional. There's maybe a little bit of curveball for you.
Okay.
But here's what I found real interesting as I kind of studied up on you before we jumped into this. You often refer to fewer and fewer people are doing formal education, right? Mm-hmm. And they start to dive into these courses. But then I look in your bio and you are somebody who holds 2 master's degrees. So here's the question, right? For the first hard-hitting thing. If you could go back in time, or even right now, would you invest in getting those 2 master's degree, knowing what you know now? Would you do it differently? And maybe talk
Chris,
about that a little bit.
Like, you almost made me curse, but I'm not going to curse live on radio. But to answer your question, absolutely yes. Yes and yes.
Okay, yeah. Tell us more.
Number one, I'm a total geek. I'm a total nerd, and I'm just a lifelong learner. And so I just love all that. I love school.
Yeah.
That's number one. And number two, the 2 degrees in particular. One, my master's degree in business is in entrepreneurship. So I got that one first, and then I got the instructional design, and being able to put those 2 together have really helped to give me some insight, right? That gave me the theory, but to see it in real life, I think is really priceless. So would I do it the same? Probably.
Well, that's cool. And I think what people need to understand is I think it's different for everybody. I'm a college dropout. Russell got a degree, but he also often talks about, hey, what's the means to an end? Like, if you're not buying the drill, you're buying the hole. So you're trying to get the result. And so talk to us about maybe is it appropriate for some people to just say, hey, no, I'm going to learn informally and I'm going to go find the right things that I want to dive into. Is that something you dive into courses instead of going traditional education?
Yeah. So if you want to learn how to build courses, it depends on who you want to build courses for. So I wanted to be able to build courses for corporate entities, the federal government, colleges and anybody. And so when you have that formal education, it kind of gives you a little bit of a leg up, just because you can speak the language no matter who you're selling the course to. And make no mistake about it, the languages are different. Okay. The language of corporate, you cannot talk to them about sales funnels. They could care less. Right.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And vice versa. The average, the coach, the expert, the entrepreneur is not going to know what an LMS is. They're not going to know what a SCORM package is, and they're not going to care. Right. But to be able to speak the language of all of those folks, then you probably could you learn it on your own? Absolutely. But I think it's a lot more fun to learn it in the classroom with a lot of different scenarios. And then when you tie that together with an MBA and you get to see the mechanics of selling and the business of selling courses, I think that it just opens up a whole nother world for you. Now, can you learn it informally? Yes. However, you have a little bit less perspective, I think, just in terms of experience, and you tend to kind of stick only with one thing as opposed to having a broader swath of things that you can offer. And so as an entrepreneur, we want to be able to offer more than one thing, especially in today's marketplace with courses. You don't kind of want to be a one-trick pony in this marketplace.
You mentioned one thing.
Can you learn it? Absolutely.
Sure. Well, and I even think for people who are trying to learn a skill set, right? People who have plenty of courses where you can go out and do this informal learning rather than going to school. Maybe not for courses specifically, but I'm just saying they want to learn something. That's a service you provide as an agency. One thing you said that I want to dive into a little bit, and Ben, jump in anytime. You mentioned, I love when you say, hey, your degree makes you have a little bit more credibility, I guess. But you mentioned one thing that caught my ear is whether you're selling to government agencies. If you got a course, and you say, I got an MBA in this, talk to us about that. Are people creating these courses and selling to governments to use in different places? What's that landscape like?
Absolutely, because we build those courses that people are selling to government agencies, right?
And those are the buyers. That's wild.
They are the buyers. They are the buyers. So you can sign up for sam.gov, register as a business, right? So that the government knows that you are there and what you have to offer. Remember that the government is not going to, invest in personal development courses. They're not going to invest in courses on menopause for the women in that workforce, right?
Like a lot of infopreneurs, right? You're talking about exactly real meat. Yeah, okay.
That's right. They're going to buy it. They're going to buy it. So a lot of people, what happens in a lot of cases are people are working out in corporate or for government agencies, and they know that their companies need these courses. Or they ask and they inquire, or they'll go down to the second floor to the EPA office and say, hey, what do y'all need? And they go and create it. They go and create it and sell it to their own company. You don't have to not be working there.
That's right. Yeah.
What's an example of a course that maybe you or somebody that you've worked with have sold to either a big corporation or government?
Oh, yeah. The menopause course, that's the one that came to top of mind because that one was the most recent. I never would have thought that a government agency would be interested in that for their employees, but they absolutely are. And they absolutely bought licenses so that any woman in their organization could have access to that. So that's the one that came kind of top of mind. But there are lots of courses on dealing with people, leadership courses.
Sure.
Those are really popular. Financial literacy type courses are also really hot in terms of government agencies and things like that, because, people want their companies to care that if they have this information. And so they're investing more in that licensing.
Do you have a price tag? Do government entities and these big companies? Well, I'm looking at it this way. That seems to be a bulk package order versus you're going to be a regular infopreneur and try to sell, to Ben Harris a course, and then you're going to sell it to me, or you're going to sell it 100 different times where you can just license this thing out. Yeah. I assume there's a big difference between those two, and I don't know if the sales cycle's a lot longer. Talk to us about that.
No, the sales cycle is a lot shorter. Because
Really?
what I have seen mostly is that people are leveraging their relationships. And if you're thinking about doing this, you want to go on LinkedIn and look at your connections and ask
Yeah.
who might need this. And so no, the buying cycle tends to be shorter because they know someone, and the person says, yeah, we could use that. Show me what you got. And so the people who actually get those opportunities are the ones who have something ready. The ones who don't. So you kind of have to be ready in those circumstances, or you might miss out.
Now, I'm kind of naive to this.
Mm-hmm.
What price tag can you usually sell to a government entity or a corporation for? Is that a lot higher?
Yeah, so yes and no. It's priced a little bit differently because you're pricing per person or anticipation of the number of people. So if it's an agency with thousands of people, then you don't have to price your license super high, right? Especially if it's a PD course, a personal development course or something. They're not going to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for that course, but somewhere between, what I've seen is like anywhere between like $20 a person all the way up to $100 a person.
So it's per license per person.
Per license per person.
Got you. Okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So typically the higher the number of employees, the lower the cost per license.
Yeah.
But if you're selling, now look, I wasn't getting math. I was a journalism major. So don't even test me on this. Right. But if you've got 1,000 people in an agency and you're offering your course for $50 a head, how much is that? Somebody do the math.
Hold on. What'd you say?
1,000 times 50.
1,000
times
50,000.
We got you.
50,000.
I didn't pull out my calculator. That's like easiest math ever. Shame on me.
Thank you, Chris. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here for you.
Okay, so $50,000, and you think about how long would it take you to sell $50,000 worth of courses to the consumer market? Now, some people, you just, open up your door and boom, you got 50 grand. For some people, especially if you're just getting started, it might take you longer. Corporate and government agencies really don't care about how pretty your website is. They don't really look at how popular you are on social media. They really don't care about that. They're looking at the quality of the product that you're bringing to the table. Do you answer a need? Do you fill a need that they actually have in that moment for their workforce or for their clients, for their vendors? So a lot of people are cashing in on the fact that, American companies are sending work overseas. Okay. So how does that create a challenge for the American business? Well, there are cultural differences, there are language barriers, there's all kinds of things that unintended consequences that a course and courses can fulfill. And AI has played a major role in that, because now your courses can be in any language that you want, with the click of a button.
Right. Even to like where it matches what the people are saying. Like if it's a video course, you could even use AI to like do the not deep fake, but I guess it does the translation.
That's right.
Perry Belcher was showing this at Traffic and Conversion, right, Ben? Like, it's crazy, like what people are doing with
that.
This
is crazy. It's so crazy. And the cool thing, don't tell anybody, right? But the corporate businesses, they're kind of behind the times. So right now they know about AI, but they don't know all the stuff that it can really do. So you can really put a nice little price tag on there, all right, for selling them courses in different languages to match the different cultures that they need, because they're like, wow, we really need this. They don't know it took you like 2 seconds to change it to, Swahili, right?
Yeah. So, big demand over there. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Just between me, you, and the lamppost.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And I really do want to unpack how course creators could be leveraging AI to a higher degree. And maybe some of it's ahead of its time, but some of it's not, right? Some of it's actually even behind, like you just mentioned. For your clients, people who follow your content that are getting started, because we've mentioned there's a lot of B2B market as well. What would you say is the best way to get started? Because we, in our community, this is fresh, right? We've never had a lot of people come in and talk about this stuff. Do you think it's a better avenue to get started, to get a better adoption rate with your content, refine it before you launch to a consumer market? How would you, let's say I'm looking to create a course on how to make a tomato garden in my backyard or something like that.
Yeah. So it kind of comes down to what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Do you put the content out there first? Do you build it first and hope they come? Or if you don't have it, then you don't have it. What do you do? So I always err on the side of be ready so you don't have to get ready. Get it done.
You can't stretch for a street fight.
Yeah.
Right. Like you got to be ready so you don't have to get ready. If the opportunities are there, but you're not ready to meet those opportunities, you're going to miss out because things are moving way too fast. There's a lot of competition out there. And so I would say if you want to get started, the first thing we want to do is make sure that your content is consumable for an online market, if that's what you're trying to do. If you want the course to be online, because there are different kinds of courses. We can do in person, we can do online, we can do a combination, a hybrid. So you want to look at what is your lifestyle that you want to create by means of this course. And what I mean is this. The marketplace is definitely changing in what it will accept as a course at a certain price point. So if you're pricing your course over $200 or so, the marketplace is now saying, I need to see you. Before COVID, they accepted that you may not be there. Okay. But now the marketplace is changing. They're shifting back to where they're saying, I need to see the influencer. I need to know this is real, because in this world of what's real, what's Memorex, what's not, I know I'm dating myself with the Memorex thing, but Ben doesn't know what we're talking about.
I got you. I'm following you. Yeah, Ben has no idea. It's fine. I'm with you.
But in this world, right, people are much more skeptical. And that skepticism is lengthening the sales cycle, because now people's got a lot more choices and they're not sure if your course is AI. And even though for us as business owners, artificial intelligence is like, it's amazing. It can do all of these amazing things. But you have to remember that the marketplace doesn't necessarily see it as amazing. They see it as, another way for them to get tricked and duped, and another way for them to not get what they paid for. And so they're a lot more skeptical now. So we have to, those who are thinking about jumping in to building courses have to take that into consideration, when they get ready to sell it.
Boy, $200 though. You got to think like that's tough, right? Like, is it a race to the bottom right now with these courses and pricing? Like,
and in a lot of ways it is. In a lot of ways it is, because what's happening is that the market is being flooded with mediocrity. Okay.
I love that quote. It's so true. My gosh. Yeah. And the consumers have a hard time sorting that out until they consume it.
They can't figure it out. Right. And so, yes, it is a race to the bottom. And so what's happening is that the alternate reality is that people are saying, okay, we know that there's this mediocrity out there. We know that there's a lot of garbage and trash out there now. So now I'm looking for the real thing. I'm looking for someone that pierces through the facade that I can see right away. And so you want to start investing in your authority, investing in your brand in a way that you didn't even have to do maybe even 3 years ago.
Wow. This brings up a whole other subject for me. Like, if I'm the consumer, how do I sift through and find out who's legit or not? Because listen, there's a bunch of people who are entertainment influencer personalities on TikTok and all these other things,
right?
Versus the infopreneur who actually has, a lot of them have really good content.
Yeah.
So how do you separate those two if you're the consumer and sift through and find the quality?
I'm really glad you asked that, because over the last, I would say 18 months to 2 years, we have, as a business, really spent a lot of time trying to figure out what consumers really want when it comes to information. What is happening in the marketplace? Because we noticed the changes maybe about 2 years ago. It started then, but we weren't sure if it was just a fluke or something that was happening. But we are head first into the realized information age. Okay, we have been in the information age, but now the consumer has decided to fully engulf themselves in the information age. So what does that mean for us as business owners? That means that now there is a surplus of information. People feel like if they, wake up in the morning, all they have to do is say, "Hey, Google, what's the price of tea in China?" And Google will tell them, right? They didn't have to pay for that. They didn't have to ask anybody. And so because the flood is in the marketplace, that means that your information is not as valuable to the consumer.
Now, and maybe they can go find free stuff on YouTube or whatever,
Correct.
We're in the age of information.
So what does that mean? Does that mean the course building industry is over and, there's nothing we can do? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But what we found out is this: information is about 30% of what really interests people and makes them press the buy button. It's about 30% of what they really want. They're not buying your course because of the information, not solely, because they already feel like they can get that. Okay. They already know they can get it.
Or what?
They already feel like they can get it, right? They can get it on Google, YouTube, TikTok. They can get information. So the information itself is not why they're buying. They're buying because of the other 70%. What is the other 70%? I'm glad you asked.
It was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, I'm really about to lift up my mic.
We're on the edge of our seat. Like, tell us 70%.
Tell me. Yeah.
They want your course for analysis, insight, strategy, experience, case studies. That's what they're looking for. So you've got to have information. Okay. You've got to. But what happened, the mistake that people are making right now is they're putting way too much emphasis on their information. I know it's a total, ego killer, right? Like, my information is so amazing. I'm sure it is. Okay. But for the consumer to press the buy button, you cannot emphasize information, and you cannot throw information at them. It used to be that pre-COVID, right? Pre-AI, you could just dump a bunch of stuff on people. As a matter of fact, a lot of the gurus were saying, just fire hose them. It's going to make them want your course to really figure it out, right? Right? Well, it doesn't work so much anymore. You cannot just throw information at people and think that that's going to be good enough. They're not going to like it. They're not going to take it. They're not going to refer anybody, and they're not going to finish your course. So it's going to be bad all the way around. So not only that, information is not as meaningful, valuable, okay, as we like to think it is. So what you've got to do, the solution is to wrap your information around analysis, insight, strategy, right? And help them to see something that ChatGPT can never do. It can never give your insight, analysis, expertise, case studies. It can't do it. It can only give from a conglomerate, right? From people, an aggregate of people all over the world, millions of people. It can't give your insight. It can't give your analysis. It can't give your experience, expertise. They can't get it from there. So what happens is people get caught up in what AI can do. AI can help me to give people what? information really fast. And they're like, yes, this is awesome. But then they can't sell it and they don't know why.
I also think, I love this. This is such good insight. I also think people get caught up, and Ben was mentioning this on an earlier podcast we did. People get caught up in this information loop without taking action, right?
That's
like you can go and consume and consume. And a lot of people get this dopamine hit, this addiction, of saying, oh my gosh, I got more information. But in a course, if you're selling a course, a lot of times, like what we do, ClickFunnels, like when we give this education, we're also providing ways for them to go act, right? So where in those courses that happen, where do you draw the line of here's all the information and here are some actionable items for you to do?
Very good. So I'm going to wrap that up in 4 things that people will pay for. Okay. I'm going to answer your question. 4 things that people will pay for. They're going to pay for process. Tell me how to do it.
Right.
They're going to pay for access. Give me something I can't get for myself. They're going to pay for implementation. Help me do it.
Right.
They're going to pay for a destination. Give me a safe place and a beautiful place to access all this information. Okay? If you as a business owner can wrap your course in as many of those layers that I just gave you as possible, you're going to be able to raise your price, raise the value, and people are going to buy it. Okay? So the key takeaway is not just information.
Yeah.
Don't just give them information. Give them process. Give them access.
Yeah.
Give them implementation and give them a destination.
And even too, would you say these all like rhyme now, like congregation, right? A place where community building, we are now
affiliation.
Yeah,
look, can I get an amen? Can I get an
amen?
Seriously, amen. Yeah. Would that be an aspect you could maybe add to course building as well? Would be a tribal community aspect to it, or is that not as important as a lot of other things that we see make things sell? I guess
it is if you can make it a destination. Don't call it a community.
Okay, I like that.
If you think about it as a place that I want to be, I am seeking out. It is a place of nurturing. It is a place that I feel safe and I feel comfortable and I feel served and I feel warm, right? Think about the Bahamas and Jamaica and Bermuda, right? It really has to be a destination spot as opposed to just a community, right? Because the market has changed. They don't want to be in all your Facebook groups. They don't care about your Facebook community. Why? Because it's not a must-have. It's not a place where they feel safe or nurtured or getting fed and served anymore, because we don't have the time to do it. And so it's just a place now.
Well, tell me this, and I'm going to kind of rephrase that. I'm trying to understand, like maybe a good example of that. A destination. Oh, maybe this is it. Maybe it's like the 2 Comma Club Award, right? Like people are funnel hackers. That's the community. But when people come together on this, the goal is by kind of coming together, we can help everybody achieve, like that $1 million award. Like you said, for you, when you started this, you said, I want to have 1 million people teach 1 million people. Does that align kind of with what you're talking about?
It does. So a destination is a place where, think about, right? So like when you get off the plane and there's somebody with a lei and they're putting it over your neck and there's someone to greet you and welcome you and show you where the drinks are in the bathrooms and those sorts of things. That typically is not what's happening in most communities nowadays. Most communities, that's not happening. Right now, they get a DM message that says, hey, thanks so much for joining ABC group, and so, and don't you want to get on a call? And they're like, no, right? That's it. They're not feeling warm and welcoming. And that's with real people who are interested in what's really happening with them. So you have to just kind of go out of your way a little bit more to make them feel like they're supposed to be there. The other thing that it does is another example of how you can make it a destination is by giving them custom freebies, custom value. as opposed to everybody gets the same freebie when they come in, the same download, the same ebook, blah, 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 right? So we have to make it more of a custom experience, right? Do you like water sports or do you like fine dining? You know, which one? So that means we got to have more variety. That means we have to have more things that we are offering them instead of, you know, just keeping it kind of, you know, stale.
How do you customize that without
I'm
cutting into like
this?
Yeah, I am too. Like, how do you customize this without like adding tons more bandwidth to your team? Are you leveraging AI in that aspect, or like how are you doing this where you're not trading time for dollars?
Yeah, great question. So no, you're not leveraging AI because people want real people. Is it going to take more bandwidth? Yeah, is it going to take more bandwidth? Yeah. So what a lot of people are doing is they're having more opportunities for the influencer to see them virtually in person, right? So they're offering them, you know, come on, let's go to a virtual dinner party. Hey, let's all meet for lunch and learn. So they're giving them more time and more opportunities to actually meet with the actual influencer. So to customize it, right, when they first come into your community, we're asking them 3 questions, right? What's your problem? You know, give me your email if you want this, and that sort of thing. So instead of just giving them that one little, you know, $1 million blueprint to, you know, life as we know it, we're going to ask them for their number so that we can actually ask them what it is that they want. So we text them, we call them. Does it add bandwidth? Does it add? Yes, but it pays off.
Yeah, it's real value.
It's real value, and it separates your community from those who are not doing that. It doesn't seem rote. It doesn't seem like it's just, you know, so remember what I said, right, when we're talking about those 4 levels. Process, access, implementation, destination. Those are 4 that you want to aspire to include. You don't have to include all of them, but the more of them that you can master, the more you're going to be able to put a price tag on your course. So I was just talking to someone the other day.
I'm over here taking notes.
He's awesome. He has an agency, okay? And he wants to put out a course. Now, here's the thing. The people, you have a couple of different avatars in your community. They're either DIYers or they're done-for-youers, okay? So they're going to end up mixed in there. So just like with ClickFunnels, you got some people who are ready to figure it out. And then you got other people who say, you know what, let me just pay somebody to do it for me, right? I still want it done, but I want it done for me. So those of you all who are putting a course together, I want you to really put some thought into, is this really for the DIYer, or is it really for the person who says, I want to halfway DIY it? I don't think I can pay or afford for someone to do it all the way for me. So I'm not
maybe
ready.
Maybe like a done with you over the shoulder or something.
A done with you over the shoulder combo. So for example, you're going to incorporate a little bit of implementation. Those are templates. Those are done for you graphics where you can just share the link to Canva. So instead of just doing a Canva course, okay, let's give them some templates that they can use and work on without having to start from scratch. Everybody thinks, hey, if I give them this from scratch, it makes it more valuable. No, it makes it more valuable if you give them something that's not a blank piece of paper. Okay. Isn't that what ChatGPT is all about? It's about, you don't have to start with a blank piece of paper.
Yeah.
Give them a head start, give them a push. So instead of just having your course, right, that's going to give them process, how to do it, A to B. That's fine. Now give them access to something they would not have access to, like your Canva, like your membership site, like your software, like your templates, like your this or that. I mean, just ask.
Now you got an offer. Now you got stacked value.
There you go. There you go. But do they still need the information? Absolutely. Of course they do.
Yeah.
But now we've made it more valuable.
By tenfold. That's insane.
Tenfold, hundredfold.
Now, your 4 points you've hit on, are those ranked from top to bottom in terms of importance or impact?
Yeah, actually they are.
Okay.
So process, we've got to give them that because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for how do I get from point A to point B? You got to give them that. So that's first. Implementation is access and implementation are about equal. Okay. Because if you can give me access to something that I don't have access to, I'm going to pay premium dollar for it. Okay. And implementation is even higher than access. Okay. They're not in that order, but implementation is even higher than access because if you can help me do it, like help me get out of my head, help me get off this blank piece of paper, that's really valuable to me. Okay. So here's the conundrum for a lot of people. They are still stuck in, I'm just going to, offer something passive. I want passive revenue. I want to make money in my sleep. I don't want to have to do anything. I want to throw out my course and turn my back and walk off. Right. I hate that. Look, I'm just a messenger. Okay. I hate to be the bearer of bad news.
No, it's the truth. Yeah.
But that's not really going to happen. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. 2015-ish, probably.
Maybe,
2016-ish, maybe. Right. But 2024, no. Okay. So what can we do to offset the fact that we are going to have to create a destination, that we are going to have to do a little bit more, right? We're going to stack our offer, stack our course, leverage our course so that we can charge more money. That way you don't have to quite work as hard. But yeah, you're not going to be able to really turn your back and walk off. Sorry.
Yeah, consumer behavior is changing, or even past tense, it has changed, right? And it's one question, it is backtracking a bit, but you've mentioned within that behavior, there's more skepticism, right? Okay. Fighting that, we mentioned, leveraging more on content, possibly information on the front end, let's say, but how do we as sellers in this market fight that skepticism? Not fight it, but, combat it.
No, you do have to fight it. You got to fight it like a street dog in the alley, okay? Yeah. Because people are really getting aggressive about it, right? They want to see your credentials and they want to see, want to make sure. So how we fight it is be real. Just be real. Be something that AI can't be, okay?
Genuine, yeah.
Right. Be genuine. And people are like, oh God, how do I do that? Well, you got to show up for people. All right. You have to really be willing to be the person that people need. That to me, that is the number one thing to do. And that's probably the hardest thing for most people to do because people are good with their information. They can talk about it all day. They know their stuff. They can talk about it in their sleep, but showing up is the differentiator. That is the thing that people say, is this person a fly by night? Is this someone I can trust? Or is this someone who's just gonna throw stuff at me and then I don't see them for weeks. I don't talk to them for weeks. They don't give me an opportunity to meet them. Or it's only one opportunity. I have no time to. And so that's the thing. All right. Now, remember when we were talking about the analysis, the insight, all of those things are things that people really place value on. So when you do show up, don't just show up with your face on the camera, right? Do an audit, do some hot seats, help them to analyze their website or their garden or their baked goods or whatever you're helping them with. And then they're like, oh, okay, this person is genuine. They really care. And so maybe their course is something that's gonna, it's gonna help me get there. And look, don't be afraid to to show them behind the curtain. A lot of people are gatekeepers, right? And so the gatekeepers are, they're getting put out the playground. Okay. People are tired of the gatekeeping. And you can't be afraid to share with people the process, your connection to the process, your story behind the process, why they should, take your course as opposed to take a chance. Take my course instead of taking a chance on somebody else.
Yeah, I love what you said, show up, because it's so much more than physically being in the building or physically being on the call. Yeah. Show up has so many different levels to it. Well, we could talk to you forever. This has been fascinating for me. But for those who want to get started and have found a lot of value in this, where do they go to work with you? Do you have social handles? Is there a link that they can go to use you as an agency and get these courses built and have your help? Where do they go?
Absolutely. So they can head on over to katthecoursebuilder.com, just like it sounds, KATTHE Course Builder, just like it sounds. All right. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and all the things at KD Course Builder, at KD Course Builder. And you can follow us on Facebook. I'm Kat Dunn, and, Google me. You can Google us.
That's the best CT I've ever heard. Yeah,
I love it. Well,
what a breath of fresh air. Yeah.
Yeah, I love every bit of this. There's so much value, and if we had all day, we'd spend it. But thanks again, Kat, so much for joining us today. Huge value for our listeners. You're the best.
Oh, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. This was awesome. I appreciate you both.